What's going on? Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Welcome. Let's get right into it. So, welcome to Historizing the MC Culture, episode 6. This is the Wearing of Spurs. I'm Prophet, member of Outcast Motorcycle Club. And on this episode, we will dissect the Wearing of Spurs, its symbolism, and what it means to Black outlaw bikers, its purpose. And so let's get into it. And this is my Spurs right here on my bike and on my boots. So that's what they look like. So let's talk about it a little bit, because a lot of people have been asking me about why we do this whole thing with Spurs. So I want to talk about it. As with most anything in this MC culture, there comes a time when the authenticity of a thing is defiled and replaced with a mere fabrication and a replica of its original self. So in an effort to preserve the righteousness of the culture, here's some background on the Wearing of Spurs. This MC culture is descendant of various cultures, one of them being the cowboys. And from the wearing of vests and dusters to chaparreras, which are chaps, to the term iron horses, wide brim Stetson hats, and finally to the wearing of spurs. Spurs in the MC culture are worn for various personal reasons, but I want to focus on one central reason. History has a detailed track record of excluding those of color who have contributed to the advancement of the said culture. And those names have been lost in obscurity as the authors have chosen to ignore and recognize those pioneers. And so the Wearing of Spurs is aimed at changing that. After the Great Annex of 1865 to the West, 1 in 4 settlers was Black. These former slaves used their generational skills to survive the harsh conditions of the frontier and blaze new trails. They served in every capacity possible, from the outlaw to the U.S. Marshal to the bounty hunter to the ranch hand. I mean, from laundry, testing stream water, taking late night guard shifts, and being the first expected to tackle a rough horse. I mean, they were wranglers, blacksmith, saloon owners, bartenders, and even calf soldiers and beyond. And so the West was settled and won by those whose names aren't listed in everyday history books. And we're talking about Black men and women who faced the dichotomy of discrimination and equality. On one hand, they found themselves working side by side with white ranchers and receiving the same pay for their services. But on the other hand, they were often the victims of racial oppression as residual hate from the days of enslavement. And initially, white ranchers referred to white workers as cow hands, with Black people in the same position referred to within the pejorative of cowboy. You see the difference between the two. That is the genesis of the name, birthed out of derogatory labeling. When you see and hear Black outlaws clicking and clacking from those spikes in those spurs, it's a constant reminder that we exist on the heels of others whose history chose to forget. We wear our spurs to remember the unremembered. Some men wear spurs on both boots, and some men only wear one spur. And this is often the result of gifting the other spur to a righteous brother. And when the spur is gifted, it is often accompanied with a lesson on the forgotten cowboys and cowgirls of the Wild West. So if you find yourself wanting to mimic Black outlaws and MC traditionalists within your own set of spurs, do it for the value and the substance, not for the fashion statement. Know the names and achievements of those Black cowboys who came before us. Understand what they mean to the culture and their historical value. Be dedicated to having the conversation, educating others, and keeping their legacy alive. We remember them. John, the Kid, Texas, Hayes, Charlie Willis, Ned Huddleston, who was known as Isam Dart. He was an outlaw member of the Galt Gang. Bill Pickett, Stagecoach Mary Fields, who was the first Afro-American to work for the U.S. Postal Service. Bass Reeves, the first Black deputy U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi. He arrested more than 3,000 fugitives. Henry O. Flipper, who was the first non-white officer to lead the Buffalo Soldiers, 10th Cavalry. Charles Young of the 9th Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers. Nat Deadwood Dick, Love, Jess Flip Crumbly, Addison Jones, Bob Lemons, Ben Hodges, Jesse Stahl, Cherokee Bill of the 10th Cav Buffalo Soldiers, Bose Icker, William Robinson, George Monroe, Ike Murphy, Jimmy Winkfield, L.V. Conry, Henrietta Williams Foster, Bob Lemons, Daniel Wallace, John Slaughter, Britton Johnson, Matthew Bones Hooks, Marshal Willie Kennard, the 9th and 10th Cavalry, the 24th and 25th Infantry Regiment, the Buffalo Soldiers. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share this. Each one has the responsibility to teach one. This is Prophet, Outcast Motorcycle Club, Historizing the MC Culture, Episode 6, The Wearing of Spurs. We ride for peace.